Excuse you.
All right, hello, welcome.
Hello.
It's another episode. We're here. We're doing
It
it.
sure is. We're still committed to doing this thing that we do.
Yes. We, Ian's constantly trying to talk me out of it, but I say no.
Yeah, people say we're crazy.
Say we're nuts.
Me.
Yeah. They say you're crazy separately. Me,
Yeah.
they always tell me you got a good head on your shoulders.
Oh man, I didn't know that people were saying that. I'm rude.
Yeah, that's what I said. I stick up for you.
Huh. Well, I appreciate you doing that. I mean,
Oh yeah.
now I feel like
kind of puts me in an awkward position, but I just feel like.
Oh yeah. Well, I feel bad because I've totally been like just nodding my head and like agreeing with everybody.
Oh.
Like going like, yeah, this guy's fucking nuts. Like he's crazy. So now I know I should probably I'll reciprocate. I'll do that for you now.
I appreciate it. We need each other to help sway the public view.
Goddamn right.
How you been, Ian?
I've been good. How have you been?
I've been good. Now that we got that out of the way.
Woo! Wow. Hard hitting topics right there.
I know, right?
Gosh, damn. Can we stop with the third degree?
I wish you would.
All right, and it's not just us in the room today.
No.
We got a person helping out.
Yeah, this is a person.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello.
Hello, everybody. This is Aaron. He's tonight's guest. He's a good friend of mine from the restaurant days. That's where we met.
Nice.
From the old restaurant biz.
That's right.
Still do restaurant biz.
The currently non-existent restaurant biz.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
Shut down.
Mhm.
Rest in peace, the restaurant biz.
That's right. Rest in peace. Probably a lot of the shit I liked. God, it's gonna be. I wonder how I'm gonna. I haven't had mozzarella sticks in so long.
And your heart thanks you.
It does, but my mind is
sad.
reeling.
I understand.
My heart thanks me, but my soul.
Soul tries at night. Mozzarella.
Mozzarella sticks.
I miss choking to death on a snack.
I know, like I've always wanted to like eat something and then be trying to swallow it, but it's like burning hot and it just won't end.
I feel like eating mozzarella sticks is like trying to eat like a shoestring. Like it's just like it's halfway down your throat. It's still in your hand at the same time.
You know those like handkerchiefs that clowns pull
Yeah,
out
exactly.
of their pockets that just keep going and
That's exactly. That's a great description of it. Yes.
That's how I feel.
That is mozzarella sticks.
Oh man.
The overmouth chompy bite.
Yeah. You can't
That's
look
like
cool
the-
eating them.
It's like trying to tackle a hydra. Like you keep trying to like cut off the beast's head, and it just keeps coming back with more and more.
Yeah. Try to break
You can
the trail of cheese so that you don't choke to death, but
That's right.
it's more cheese.
You can tell how often I eat mozzarella sticks by the amount of like different colorful
Yes.
analogies I have for
You
eating.
thought a lot about this. It's clear.
Oh man. So Aaron, how have you been doing?
I've been hanging in there, just
You staying safe?
staying safe, staying home.
Good.
The first time I've been unemployed since I started working, which was
Holy shit.
Yeah.
how long ago? 10 years ago.
Wow.
It's
That's
always a strange
Just
feeling.
working, and now being like at home, and
the streak is broken.
It is. It's broken and it's weird.
It's weird.
Because, when you're working, all you want is free time, and now I have all the free time in the world, and I can't wait to go back to work.
I know, it's weird, right? Or like at least to go back to work without fear of death. Like that's
Right.
what I want.
Yeah. Like I'm cool with working when it's
Well,
safe.
yeah, I don't mind it when it's safe, if it's ever safe.
Yeah.
Never safe. We'll see. I don't want to start the show on a bummer, but you guys saw like all those videos of like folks in like the Ozarks and shit, like just like partying it up
Yeah.
in like a weird human's primordial soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. it's a little distressing, but
Yeah.
try not to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been my technique for most things.
I try not to stress about it. I keep reading the statistics that show that the majority of people are in favor of, you know, staying locked down, all the right steps. You know,
You like to think that the right people are doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't save everybody, but you know, the statistics still show that people overwhelmingly support doing the right thing during all of this. So, you know, it's unfortunate that there's so many people cramped in those spaces, and they're definitely going to make everyone's life a whole lot worse. But they are still
Minority.
an outlier.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I saw this one person, like, they were like, yeah, I was checking Snapchat. I was looking through, like, just looking at the local, like, videos coming out of the Ozarks where all that partying was happening, and they show one guy, and he's, like, recording being a dumbass, and they just, like, lets out a huge cough right in the middle of his whole thing. And it's just like, oh, God. Like, patient zero right there.
Yeah.
So, it's distressing.
Well,
It's all good though. I think we'll be alright.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be good.
As long as we are, you know, us in this chat, and also anyone who's maybe watching and, like, you know, their loved ones, as long as the majority of people play it safe, I think we'll get through this.
Yeah. If you're at the Ozarks right now watching this stream on your phone while dancing around in a lake or an ocean on the beach, don't stop it.
Yeah, you
You
deserve
stop it.
all the pain.
Just know we are disappointed.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I know that will
absolutely.
hurt them a lot.
Yeah. Oh, the disappointment will be
Our opinions are, you know, it's like
paramount.
Highly valued.
exactly. You get it.
Yeah. Aaron, you know, you're an amazing cook. I gotta, you know, just to kind of shift gears a little bit, you're an amazing cook. I've had your food before. Have you been doing a lot of cooking during all of it?
Yeah, pretty much. I usually make lunch and dinner, and sometimes breakfast for me and my roommate during this whole shenanigans. Got to keep some of the skills, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta keep fresh.
Otherwise, I'll just
You're an atrophy.
just atrophy and get even fatter than I'm already getting.
Oh, hey, now, don't be so hard on yourself.
Hey, I'm normally hard on myself, like extra, but like this is just one of those like, oh god.
What's your favorite or most experimental? What's like the thing you've made yourself and your roommate potentially that you're the most proud of so far during all of this?
Most proud of definitely pizza. My
Nice.
pizza dough, getting used to that.
Made your own homemade pizza. That sounds honestly
Yeah, like
amazing.
literally pretty much all from scratch. Just
That's awesome.
dough. Not the cheese. Like I can't make a.
You don't have any cows in the
Homemade
backyard.
I don't have any. I don't have
Don't have a lamb's bladder to store curdled milk in.
No, I've been churning, but you know, I'm not there yet.
Oh man, well someday.
But yeah, other than that, you know, just trying to, you know, that and any chance I can light up my grill, I do that. Cause,
Ooh, yes. God, I miss grilling.
I think of what else I've lasagna,
Ooh.
Sounds good.
stir fries, chicken cacciatore, like just a gamut of things. The one thing I haven't done that I want to do, depending on how long this whole ordeal goes, is I want to get me a pasta machine and do homemade pasta.
Oh my god, hell yeah. That's actually like my dream is to eventually be just completely self-sufficient. Like I grow my own shit, I make my own shit from scratch.
I would love to do that.
Absolutely.
Like, as much as I know it would, part of it would suck, like, I would love the idea of, like, well, I started a garden last year. I didn't do it so much this year. Kind of just been the time in which I would have started, this all started happening, so.
Gotcha.
But I love growing my own stuff and cooking with that. Like, I would love the idea of, like, having lamb, raising cattle and
That'd be
chickens
awesome.
and
That'd be
having space.
I'd be right there with you. I was actually talking on one of the other Discords I'm a member of. Like we were talking about this exact thing, is like how I'd like to just have some land, have some fucking food I could grow, and have some livestock I could like, you know, raise and shit like that. And I don't know, the commune lifestyle is sounding nicer and nicer with each day.
You know, it's funny because I have friends and coworkers who are just like, we should start a commune, and I'm like, as awesome as that would sound, it would be horrible to start. Like,
Yeah.
Oh
it'd be
yeah.
one thing.
You wanna
Joining
be-
a commune that's established is one thing.
You want to be
Starting
like
a
third generation commune. You want to be. This cult has to be going strong by the time I am
That's right.
Well,
I don't know.
indoctrinated.
I think Waco is like third generation. Someone brought up Waco inevitably in that chat, and I think Waco was like third generation before the ATF went and burnt that place to the ground. So I think you got like
I want to be in a commune at like the third patch. You know what I mean? Like after they've gotten,
They figured out the problems, getting them
Yeah.
sorted out.
mine commune update 1.8.
Yeah, it's a place to shit that everybody agrees on. It's not
Oh my
like
God.
figuring it out.
That's the most important part, I think, is agreeing where the people are gonna plant their fertilizer, to put it nicely.
It's a nice way to
yeah,
put it.
I love the idea of being self-sufficient. Like having some like. And the thing is, you don't even need a lot of space to be self-sufficient.
Not really. You're right.
Like a couple, maybe like not even an acre, if you depending on like if you're worried about just yourself and like your family.
Mhm.
There was an excellent story I read several years ago of a family. I believe they're in California, and they have not even like maybe the space of like 2 houses and a small house, and the other spot. All they do is grow all the food they use
That's
in
awesome.
a very small amount of space.
That sounds amazing.
And I'm like, that's incredible. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean I think that's like everyone. A lot of people are just like, I want to live in like a sci-fi future. I want to have like a hover car that I ride to my robot job. But I think all of us really just want to like, settle down the peaceful life in like the mountains with some
How
folks
many-
who you actually give a shit about.
How many sci-fi movies are there where it's not like hell on earth though, and like we all have chips in our necks and weird shit going on? Like,
It's like, hey, did you kids like Midsummer? It's like that, except without all the terrible shit. Actually, I haven't seen Midsummer yet.
I have not seen this.
I saw it just recently. It's weird.
Really?
It's real weird.
Did you like it?
I like weird stuff, and a lot of people like that one, but I don't know. I wasn't crazy about it. It was visually very cool and interesting to watch, but I'm not sure I'll watch it again. I don't know. It's just it felt to me weird for the sake of being weird, which isn't always the worst thing. But
That's fair.
I don't know.
No, I'm kind of in the boat of just like, why not both? Why can't I have both things?
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
Why can't I
I
have the
wouldn't
space to, grow my own crop, but also drive my laser car to my robot job?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like a nice healthy mix. Because like the thing is, I don't think that's like completely out of the realm of possibility. I think we just need to like really shift a lot of social not to get like really political on this show like right out the gate, but we just gotta shift a lot of the social paradigms that like America really holds like tantamount, and like the things that we're just like, oh, but we can't give people health care because otherwise they'll
Have
like
care.
yeah, otherwise they won't die in the streets. Like, what the fuck do you think we're gonna do with all that?
I was gonna be like, I don't want to get political. I'm like, no, let's do that. Let's
Let's
get
get
into politics and religion. Let's do it. The 2 top taboo topics. Let's get in there.
That's right, guys. Let me tell you about religion.
Politics are wrong and there is no God. Somebody, come at me. No,
I can't argue with that though. That's actually pretty much my stance.
Zach in the
Yeah,
chat
but,
says big thing is plumbing, and that's why I said you got to find a place to shit right off the bat. Crush that one, and then you can move on to bigger things.
You knocked that off. You already a third of the way there. You're like, here's the space. Here's where we shit.
This is the spot. If
Next
I
spot.
find you shitting anywhere else, you're in
You
trouble.
just gotta find out which bed people fuck in.
This is where you shit. If you shit anywhere else, we beat you with a sock full of oranges.
We throw the shit on you. You get thrown to
We
the
just-
shit pile.
Yeah, we add 1 orange each time. No, we add a slice each time you like for each offense. Like,
Oh, that's
start out with an empty sock, and we just kind of flagellate you with an empty
the
sock.
idea of adding a slice of orange every time.
Once you get to a full orange, it starts to hurt a bit.
It does. I was gonna
Yeah,
say
like-
start off with 1 orange, but that actually still sounds like it would hurt a lot.
Oh yes, very much so. I speak of experience. I've lived a life.
It sounds like it. Oh man. what have you been? So we always talk about like what sort of pop culture we're ingesting while we're on this show because I feel like that provides half the fodder for conversation when we're doing all this. So, Aaron, what sort of media have you been up in lately?
Consuming.
What have you been watching?
Lately,
Playing, watching.
playing puzzle games lately.
Ooh, okay, I love puzzles.
Like Sudoku and whatnot, like
Jigsaw.
simple logic puzzles.
Have you ever done nonograms?
Is that just like the one where you fill in the blanks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have those. They call them.
Fucking love nonograms.
Some
Sorry,
of
what was it?
those, and then there's another one I've been doing. I don't remember what it's called. I have my Switch in front of me. Actually.
Ian's always getting hyped about puzzles on here.
It's called Kakuro Magic. That's another one I'm playing. It's kind of like a Picross nonogram Sudoku type deal. You're just filling in numbers to reach a certain value.
Oh.
It's pretty great. Like I got into it, I was like, what is this? And it was cheap and I bought it, and so I've been playing that at night, really racking my brain. But as for what I've been watching, Golden Girls. We're watching that with my roommate.
Hey, very nice.
We've been watching Sailor Moon.
Nice.
Sailor Moon Crystal into the
Redub.
they remade Sailor Moon.
Really? How recently?
It started like a couple years ago. They did it. It's good. It's Sailor Moon. It's one of those things. I feel like it has that nostalgia of it being the show Sailor Moon.
Right.
But it's like anytime they reboot or remake anything, like they recently just did Final Fantasy VII, and everybody who played it as a kid always says, it looks now what I felt like it looked like then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can get that. Like, you watch, like, because I've seen watching this Sailor Moon and then watching clips from the original one, you're like, ugh, don't get me wrong, they're both works of art. They're still fantastic, but like you compare like the drawing styles and the animation, and you're like, we have really made incredible.
We have made
now.
strides.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 90s anime has this. I mean, I think that has like 90s anime has like this really beautiful, I think, aesthetic to a lot of it. I think a lot of it just has like really cool stylistic affectation to it, but a lot of it is just like it's like watching a 90s cartoon in America. It's just like it can be hella rough sometimes,
Yeah. And I think the biggest draw in terms of watching some of the older stuff is only that nostalgia kick. And then watching the remakes of it, you're like, especially like, I feel like it would be great if, I was a little older, had like a kid or what, like, go back and you watch it and you're like, you get to experience that all over again.
Yeah.
But like having that intense love of the original, it can be hard to watch the remakes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're just like,
A little biased.
it's not the same.
Hold this up. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still of the mindset, like, if you like something, you can always just watch it again.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
the old one never goes away. Like, that's the thing that always drives me crazy. They're like, they're ruining my this. I'm like, does it still exist? Because
Exactly.
Yeah, what does
They
it take
didn't-
away from the original?
they didn't burn all the archives as soon as they made the new one. Can you
Wait,
imagine?
the only-
Unless you're George Lucas, yeah, you
I was
leave the
about to say,
originals
the
behind.
only time that ever actually holds true is with Star Wars.
That's the only reason I would ever buy a VCR, just to get the original unedited ones.
I
Before
had
you put all the BS in, just
I actually had Star Wars on VHS, and those had all the bullshit in them. They actually, that was when like, I've talked about this before on the show, but like, number one, there's an hour and a half long documentary about how Industrial Lights and Magic ruined the prequels, or the sequels, or, the originals. It was like, and it's before the first movie, so you have to go through the documentary, or like, fast forward through it, to get to the actual movie. And then there's all the fucking bullshit added in, and like, the third movie has that horrific alien dancing song number. I know exactly what I'm talking about before I even say
I know exactly what you're talking about. I
Like,
recently was just talking to a friend about one of the most amazing memories I have in my life was, so for a year and a half I lived in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, cool.
I moved down there to go live with my dad before we moved back up here to Philly. So I remember specifically one Friday afternoon leaving school, I went it's a mile down the road. I walked a mile down the road to the library, and I used my library card to rent. They had a giant plastic case that contained a VHS copy of all 3 of the original trilogy.
Holy shit!
And I took that, and I also rented Phantom Menace, because it's before I realized how bad a film that is.
Only one way to find out.
And I took it home, and then that Saturday, I somehow convinced both of my parents to sit down with me for legit, each maybe 12, 14 hours.
Wow.
And we watched 4, 5, 6, then 1. And then as 1 ended, we turned off the VCR, and on cable, episode 2 had just started.
No shit!
And so we just watched that. And like, we spent the entire day watching Star Wars, and we ordered 3 meals. It was fantastic.
That's
That
great.
sounds like an amazing day. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds like
And
the
it's one of those
perfect
things where,
day.
like, thinking about doing that now just feels so tedious in my life.
Yeah.
The idea of sitting down and watching 5 Star Wars movies in a row, while it'd be fantastic, I probably would fall asleep during the second one.
Yeah.
And then just watching episodes 1 and 2, the thought of it for me is just so like, why would I do that to myself?
Yeah, like, I already saw what there was there. I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was that age, I used to do the same thing. I would like watch a movie, it ends, I slam rewind on the VCR, and then I watch it a second time, like right back to back, and it's like, what are you, a psychopath? What are you doing? I would never do that.
An
Yeah.
example of me doing that was me and my roommate watched all 3 of the Mummy movies.
Oh, nice. With Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, with Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. We were sitting down. It was like maybe early dinner, late lunch, and I put on the Mummy as like background. I just put on the Mummy, which is a fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
And
It's very fun.
it ended, and I was just like, it just like started auto playing. I was like, "You want to play the second one?" And I was like, "Okay." And, I just, and that one ended, and it was just like, "You want to watch the third one?" I was like, "Okay."
We've come this
Might as
far,
well-
you
might as
don't
well
stop
continue
now.
this week.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Sometimes,
last
you know,
time you did
sometimes-
So good? You finished what you were saying?
I was saying sometimes a movie marathon is just like happens. You don't plan it. It's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
I think they work better when you don't plan them, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like anyone I've
I feel
had
like
as an
As long
adult
as you
has
don't
been
have
unplanned.
plans, you know?
Exactly.
I'm supposed to be at work. I gotta pick up my
I feel
kid, but I want to see Mummy 3.
That kid can stay at. He can live at soccer practice. I don't care.
It would not be the first time in my life I have skipped out on something because I was watching something.
Yeah,
That's
it happens.
In the 1st grade, I just didn't go to school because I kept watching Arthur.
There you go.
I mean,
Hey,
That's it.
what a
My
wonderful
mother
kind of
comes
day.
home and I have not moved. This is a whole school day.
that's their fault for putting on a marathon of Arthur, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
that's
knew.
bullshit.
They knew what they were doing.
It started at 7. It didn't end till 6.
What the fuck? That's like an 11-hour marathon.
That's a lot
I
of
was
Arthur.
just like, this is it. This is what I do now. I sit in this room and I watch Arthur.
Is that the whole
That's
series?
12 times 2 minus 2 is 20. That's 22 episodes of Arthur right there. You watched a season of Arthur, man.
Probably more.
You know, it just kept coming.
You know,
Arthur is so memeable nowadays because
You have
I
just
mean,
this thing and oh god.
I think I haven't actually. I don't think I've watched a full episode of Arthur in my life. To be
oh, I
honest.
have. I watched a lot as a kid.
that's incredible.
They're all
I remember
animals,
the
and then
big
one of
black
the
guy.
characters is like a green gremlin monster that just hangs out with them. I don't know. Do you remember what I'm talking about? One of the kids in their school is just like,
The big ass mouth.
yeah, it's a big
Uh,
green.
Kid.
I think he's supposed to be a dog.
Wow, is that possible? I need to look this up now.
I'm looking
all,
this guy
all
up.
the drawings are gonna halt while we figure this out.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
in
he's
character
supposed to be a
Arthur.
dog.
If anybody in the chat knows what's going on here, you feel free.
I think so. Can't think of what else I've been consuming. Other than that, just a bunch of podcasts I listen to, and just an incredible amount of D&D media.
Hell yeah.
That's literally the only thing keeping me from ripping my own hair out.
D&D like Critical Role.
I watch a lot of Critical Role. I'm watching a lot of Dimension 20s.
Heard of that one.
I highly recommend it. Very great. Like the production of it's very fantastic. All the, it's like that step below Critical Role in the sense that they're not all professional voice actors getting really into, that part, but like everybody's very good at portraying their characters and it being in the role play and just having a really fun time doing it.
Nice. I mean, that's like what you hope for out of a group is just like everyone getting into the roles and just fucking having a blast.
Yeah, and like because my desire to play, like I only played before I started DMing the sessions I'm doing now. I only played 2 sessions of D&D. So,
interesting. That's a
oh wow.
It was more of a necessity thing because I wanted to play D&D and.
You were the one with the most experience of your friends?
I have equal experience to one other person playing, and then I feel like we all exactly had the same level of experience playing D&D, but it was one of those things where one of us has to be the DM.
Right, that makes sense.
I just started writing a campaign, and we all got together.
Hey, nice. That sounds like a good time though. I mean, I've been, as you know, Aaron and Brandon, I've been trying to get. Well, me and Austin have both been trying to get a game set up on the Discord server that I invited you on to.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a dog. There it is.
Yeah, that is a dog.
Binky Barnes. He's supposedly a bulldog, but he has a nose, so I never. Zach in the chat says the green kid in Arthur grew up to be Shrek. That's the thing. The nose. Come on, like give him like a. It doesn't look like a bulldog. I don't see it. And green.
Like
come on.
the wet black nose thingy. You know?
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Give him a dog. They call it a dog nose. What he has is not that at all.
His name is Snoot.
Yeah, a dog snoot.
I believe it's called a Snapchat filter.
Here's something else. His name is Binky Barnes, and I went to a website, or like Wikipedia, and it had a list of all the characters without pictures, and Binky Barnes was the first one I clicked, so my brain like somehow remembered which character was. I'm just like, that's him. It's gotta be Binky.
Alright, now I want you to travel to like the really seedy parts of the internet and find me all the porn people have drawn that character.
Oh god, the Rule 34 Binky Barnes.
No.
No,
I don't doubt it exists. And
I'm not gonna dig into that part of the internet.
I feel bad that I've actually conjured it into the ether now. I think it's actually
yeah.
What have you done?
Just by saying it, you've somewhere else in the world has just had like a light bulb moment where they're like, I need to draw something.
Exactly.
Conjured it.
We've become affiliates on Twitch, and I'm already drunk with power.
You're using it for evil.
Oh man.
No, but yeah, just a lot of D&D. Keep myself sane. Like I have my one homebrew campaign that I'm working on. Another podcast, Dungeons and Daddies, highly recommended.
I've never heard of that, but
Check
I'm one
that
out after that name.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's I'm trying to see if I can recite the tagline. 4 dads from our world are transported to the Forgotten Realms on a mission to rescue their lost sons.
Amazing.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
I love D&D campaigns that are just like the really oddball
Themed.
shit that like is not standard.
Yeah.
Sort of,
So it's like the 4 dads go to the Forgotten Realms. They each like essentially inhabit a class, and they are on this mission to save their sons. It's I remember old school YouTuber Freddie Wong.
Yeah, I do actually.
Freddie Wong, Anthony Birch, the guy who wrote Borderlands 2, as well as the writer of Hey Ash What You Playing.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Octoid Days.
He's the DM.
Interesting.
Yeah. Huh? Sorry, the Daddy Master, as they refer to him.
Amazing.
That's perfect.
It's fantastic.
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, so I'm working on my personal homebrew campaign, and then I'm working on another one now that's based off of Stranger Things, which has been interesting to try to figure out how I'm going to work around like certain things because it's a concept that's like, okay, how do I make this in D&D mechanics? You're like, okay, I understand how I would make characters, and I understand how encounters work and stuff like that. But if you've ever watched Stranger Things, it's not like the kids are like in fights and doing all this stuff. They're just running for their lives half the time. So it's just like, okay, everything's terrifying.
Oh,
I kind of
okay.
like that. I like
Yeah.
that aspect of. I actually, my least favorite part about D&D is the combat, because the one thing that I've heard someone describe D&D, and I think it's so perfect, is somebody once described D&D to me as the game where 6 seconds of travel, or 6 days of traveling takes 6 seconds, and then 6 seconds of combat takes 6 hours.
I
And,
mean, yeah, definitely. That's
So I think,
definitely
like-
a larger part of my sessions is like, like literally like get a good bit of role playing in, and you're like, all right, now next 45 minutes to an hour and a half, we are fighting.
Yep.
And then you
Oh,
realize
really?
how much time has gone by in the actual fight, and you're like, this has been 4 rounds. That is 24 seconds,
Yep.
and that was 2 hours. Like,
Oh my god, yeah.
but
You gotta, like, when I DM'd, I've tried to, like, figure out ways to streamline the combat, and there's just, like, if you want a really fulfilling combat, there's just no way, you just gotta deal with it.
I mean, I feel like there is a way to be fulfilling if you have people who are willing to be adventurous in what they're doing. Like, it doesn't necessarily always have to be straightforward. You want to,
Yeah.
anybody can walk up and hit somebody with a sword, but only somebody would be like, what if I...
Like, tip a bookcase on somebody, or...
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that, stuff like that. Like,
That's awesome. Yeah,
I
that
love,
sounds really
I
fun.
love the idea of people finding creative solutions to things that are not like that I would not have planned, and then that's the thrill of being a DM is like that thinking on the fly moment. Of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, well, like in your head you've got like 5 pages of notes. You're like, well, those don't matter anymore. What are we doing now?
Trying to course correct a little bit. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, we can
I
do
mean,
I had
this.
you
that-
course correct slightly, but at the same time, you have
wanna-
so
you
much
wanna let it go where it
you're
goes.
Doing this now.
Yeah.
What is it? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's
I,
awesome.
I had a sort of situation like that happen when I was running a D&D campaign with some folks who had been pretty new. Like, this was the legit first session they had ever done. And I had this whole puzzle lined up. I made this village. I did a map. I plotted out who was in each of the houses. But the thing is, the whole village was like frozen in stone. Like, just a circle, like a dome around the village was just like frozen in time. And then I set it up so like there's these 3 houses that are like decreasing in height, and then like they're supposed to eventually climb to the roof of one, but they were supposed to get a key, climb to the roof of that house that the key unlocked, and then they were supposed to jump down the roofs to like the skylight of the lowest house, and then inside they were gonna find a mystical orb. They break the orb, they break the spell. It took I thought it was gonna take us like that was gonna be our day, was them trying to figure out this puzzle. I was so excited, a whole bunch of stuff prepped. It took them 10 minutes. They like
Killed it.
Yeah, they saw my description of the houses, and then the one guy in the group was just like, "Oh," and then like
That's not the sound you want to hear.
just killed it. So like I had to start thinking on the fly. So I did this one section where they kind of rolled down like there's a boulder chasing them like Indiana Jones style down a mountain. They survived that. And then I was just completely out of ideas, and we'd been playing for like 20 minutes, and like I promised them we were having like a 2 whole hour session going. So I just started fucking improvising. They went in a cave and they fought like a giant Jerry Lewis head that just kept going, "Hey ladies," as like his attacks. This shit just got real abstract real quick because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, and it ended up being a lot of fun though. Like I told you this and I posted it on Twitter, but eventually like the one guy who was a bard. He was a bard because he was starting to learn the guitar, and he was like super pumped about him learning how to play the guitar. So he made his character a bard so he could kind of like channel that excitement for his new skill he was trying to learn. And so we were starting like the next session after like the "Hey Ladies" session, and he says in the very beginning, he's like, "Oh man, I hope at some point I can like sway a crowd with my guitar, like by playing a song, and really get them to like come around on something." And they were all on trial for killing a bunch of, like, I'd set it up in the last episode that like they were attacked by like a mad cow, and then when they killed the cow, a bunch of people in robes, in hooded robes, and were carrying pitchforks walking towards them. So then they like just immediately decimated all those guys, only for it to be revealed that it was a bunch of farmers, and they were just coming up to be like, "Why'd you do that to my cow?" But they just like killed the shit out of these farmers. So they were on trial. They got caught, and they were on, and like it was the whole first 30 minutes of the whole thing was like a trial where they were like, there was lawyers that had to defend themselves, and then eventually, like, I was doing the judge, and I was just like, okay, do the defendants have any last words? And I looked right at the friend who was the bard, and I looked at him in the eyes. I'm like, are there any closing arguments you'd like to make? And like immediately I saw him like, and then he picked up the guitar and he immediately just improvised a song about how they were innocent and how love was the answer and how we should let them go, and it was fucking awesome. And it didn't even take him a moment to like figure out what I was trying to set him up for. And the judge still found him guilty because they did kill those guys.
I was just gonna say my favorite thing would be like if it was like the best song ever, and then you roll a 0, and you're like, well, death sentence.
They thought you killed that man.
Like that's a beautiful song, but I don't see why you think that would have anything that would sway anyone in the court of law. I'm kind of offended that
you're a serious matter.
You're not taking this seriously, or that's awesome.
My last session, it starts out where I've recently given the party a boat. They received a boat that they lovingly named Das Boat.
Perfect.
Amazing.
It's a warship named Das Boat.
That's incredible.
And
that's a good pull on their part. That's clever.
Which is great. And then I was like, they had to get a crew for the boat, and I was just like, okay, well, you guys have enough money to go ask people if they want to be in your crew. And their first thought was, what if we just got a bunch of people drunk and tried to get them to join our crew? And so they threw a party like in town, and I was just like, okay, we're
fucking brilliant.
Like, and off the fly, I'm creating game mechanics where they're like rolling for inebriation and rolling for persuade. Like,
oh, I love rolling for
how drunk they are. Like, they're like interacting individually around the bar. Our barbarians drinking with these brigands at a table. One of our rogues, who's an NPC that I pretty much play, is doing like a knife throwing competition, which the barbarian to throw their giant great axe into a wall.
Oh my god!
It's just like that stuff is always fantastic because I'm just like, all right, we're doing this on the fly. What are we doing? Okay. But I was having a really good time.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of world build. Like, we did combat in the session, but I had a really good time leading up to the combat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Set the scene, and that's the part that's like been getting me like really excited lately. I'm like, okay, because I'm using Roll20 and stuff, so I get to do sound effects, and I'm trying to be extremely descriptive of what's happening to really like seep into them. Like, stuff's weird right now.
Yeah, that's the stuff that makes it great. You can't plan it or force it, but when it happens organically, it's just like something you never forget.
Yeah, like combat for me, it's always exciting when someone realizes, like, you run the motions a lot in combat, which can be tedious. But when like somebody realizes, you're like, should I just be awesome right now? Like, my roommate plays our bard, who, because she's College of Lore, gets spells from other classes, so she got Fireball, naturally. She has Fireball. And didn't use it until near the end of one of our fight sessions, where all of these undead were crowded around one of our other PCs. And she was like, okay, how can I do this without hitting him? Da-da-da. And then he just kind of like, on the chat, just goes, no, hit me. Hit everyone. And then she just rolls this extremely high level fireball and just goes from like 1 kill in the encounter to 15 kills in the encounter in about 1 second. Like,
holy shit.
And I'm just like, wow. Like, it was all like, for me, I'm just like, this is the greatest.
It's a great moment.
Like,
the roll is such a brilliant system because it really does sort of allow that layer of just.
You don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah.
I love the like I said, one of my characters is a warlock who is she just tries to make people impressed with himself. Like, and it's so in character for a guy playing it, but like he meets a very high level caster not too far into the beginning of the sessions, and he just immediately starts trying to like show him his magic. Like, he's sending him telepathic messages like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I have magic too, and then I'm like, okay, and then in character, the other caster, I'm like, yeah, you're dealing with pop rocks, and I've got a shotgun over here, kid. Like, don't, like,
Don't mess with me. Don't tread on this ground, son.
it was just like, kind of like you look at somebody, and you're like, cute, but like later on, I'm showing him do like these incredibly high level spells where he's like,
Just
freezing
flabbergasted.
people in place, and I'm just like, it makes a lot of sense. Like that part, like everyone's getting more into their characters, and that's what's been keeping my brain active during the time where I'm just like at home. So I get to be creative in that aspect.
That's cool. I'm glad you have that outlet, and I'm glad you have like
Yeah,
a,
that's
a
awesome.
solid group too.
That, and I've been playing guitar a lot more, so
Nice.
which is always good because it's been a while since I've had time to just sit. Just
Well, now's the time.
really play guitar. Yeah, it's great. It's always right next to me.
You can just fiddle around, take a, I've like zen the fuck out, like practicing guitar sometimes, and like when I like realize that how long I've been playing it, I'm just like, oh wow, I've really found myself in like a groove there, and it's like, I don't know, I can't force it, but when it happens, I'm always just like,
Find yourself in the proverbial groove.
yeah,
I've read about this.
it's the groove, the groove. One time I was playing D&D with some friends. We're gonna pivot from D&D in just a moment, just to because we like to cover a broad variety of subjects.
You don't have to worry about me. You can stay on D&D for a very long time. It's like, all right.
My last story, I did a D&D campaign once called Kung Fu Beach Island Vacation, where they were fighting like axe gang
Sounds
members
great.
wearing swim trunks. They did cocaine with Buddha, and it was all probably
to
not
play
the
some
most
more shit.
racially sensitive, or not racially culturally sensitive sometimes to, maybe those cultures.
If
But,
someone in this world can make me a T-shirt that says they did cocaine with Buddha, I'd be greatly appreciative.
We can make that happen. We can make that a
That's the
drop.
most fantastic sentence I've heard all day.
It's a good one. It's a good one for sure.
But this one, like, so we were doing that under, like, there's a sort of cheaper way to do D&D where you don't have character sheets, you don't have stats, you just do a real quick and easy campaign. Like, it's called RTD, which stands for Roll the Dice. It's just everything is a dice roll, so like there's no modifiers, nothing like that. It's really, truly random. But it can be a lot of fun, especially if you're not trying to like sit down for 6 hours. And the one time we did an RTD, it was like we were swapping who would run the RTD every week. So it was Ellen's turn to run the RTD, and I chose my character as Scuba Steve, who was a guy dressed head to toe in scuba gear. You couldn't see his face. His weapon was a harpoon gun, and the only thing he ever said was, "I'm Scuba Steve!" And we got into combat, and my character like got the harpoon gun out, and then I went, "I'm Scuba Steve!" And I rolled a perfect 20, so I just like harpooned like 3 guys, like just shit kebabbed them. And then I proceeded to roll a perfect 20 for combat 2 more times. So it was like 3 perfect 20s in a row that I happened to roll, and so Scuba Steve is like a legend now.
That's when the
Like,
rest of the
essentially,
group
my
realized
friend.
that it was worthwhile to bring him along. Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
absolutely. Like if you
thought
see
this guy-
Scuba Steve and he's mad at you, run the fuck away.
Yeah, that's the last thing you'll see.
Exactly. But you'll see the last thing you'll see is what many sharks saw as the last thing too. Was a big pointy spear flying towards you through the air. So yeah, that was some D&D stuff. I do want to talk about something we sort of lightly broached the subject earlier. You mentioned Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
And this may be a conversation that would be more worthy to have Austin on, because I did watch this movie with him, but fuck it, I'm going to talk about it right now. There's this movie called, oh, by the way, Captain Sheepy's in the chat. Just want to say that real quick. Hi, Captain Sheepy.
Hello, Captain.
They posted an image. I'm going to check that out, and they said, I like Dungeon World. It's like D&D, but character creation takes 5 minutes, and you can do a big adventure in less than an hour.
Oh, nice.
I
That's
should
pretty cool.
definitely look into that. Yeah, that sounds nice, actually.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Right. Oh, Captain, my Captain. We should say that every time Captain Sheepy joins the chat. That'd be fun.
I'm on board.
Anyways, so Brendan Fraser. I was hanging out with Austin before he moved to Chicago. We were just kind of like getting drunk and watching shit. And he told me about this horrible movie he watched. Brendan Fraser being in it was a bit of a surprise, but it stars John Travolta. Came out last year. Has Morgan Freeman in it too, but I don't even remember what the fuck Morgan Freeman was doing in that movie. It was called The Poison Rose, and
Okay.
How dramatic
this
of a
movie.
title.
What was that?
How dramatic of a title.
I know, right? Very dramatic.
Poison
Very
Rose.
dramatic movie, or at least it would be if it wasn't the dumbest movie I've ever seen.
It
Like,
wanted to be dramatic, just didn't have it in it.
it's like trying to do. So like John Travolta's like a 60-year-old guy or 50. His character is as old as he is, but his hair looks like John Travolta never has cool looking or good looking hair in his movies. It always looks like a hairpiece. And
That's true.
holy shit, his hair looks extra dumb in this movie. His beard is weird. He just looks like a weird guy. And this movie is he's like investigating some football guy who is at this like nursing home for like the mentally ill or like the also old. It doesn't really. We did a lot of skipping around because there's no way we were gonna watch this whole movie. But he goes to investigate this football player's overdose, and he ends up at this like nursing home. Brendan Fraser is a doctor who's like giving people like bad prescriptions and things like that. It's like a whole mess. But the movie is such a trash fire. Like, the opening scene is confusing because John Travolta is carrying around a cat in a crate, and like he escapes the mob by giving he comes out of a doorway, and this guy's got a gun. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And John Travolta's like, "Here, can you take care of my cat?" And then the guy's like, "Oh, whoa, what? I don't want to take care of this cat." And then John Travolta's already run down the alley, and the guy's like, "Hey, yo!" And all these guys with guns are chasing him, like planning to kill him, but they're not shooting.
Okay.
And that's just the first scene. The movie's got like this weird film grain. It's like shot to look like an old movie, but they just like picked the wrong camera, I think. And there's a shootout scene where John Travolta's like walking down like a weird like Italian looking like side street or whatever. I've never seen a street like this in America, but I guess it exists in somewhere. Maybe New Orleans, I think, is where the movie takes place. But this dude, like, among other crazy shit that happens, like stormtrooper level aiming, trying to shoot at Tom Cruise, is
Tom Cruise is in it?
I'm sorry, not Tom Cruise, John Travolta. I don't know why I said Tom Cruise. But this one guy shoots at John Travolta, and John Travolta's the only one connecting any of the gunshots to anybody. Like, he's barely even like running or trying to like take cover from these gunshots, but he's, I don't know, he's not getting shot. He's got like plot armor. This dude gets shot on this catwalk, and then he like falls in like the dramatic fashion that characters do when they're on catwalks when they get shot. Like, you know, in RoboCop when he's in the factory and he shoots a bunch of guys and they all have to like spin and then fall over the railing.
Fall into
down.
some toxic waste or some other thing.
Yeah. So like this guy does the similar thing. He spins, I think, he falls, and like what happens is he falls off the catwalk and then he's just like hanging by his foot upside down on the catwalk, and you're just like, that was dramatic, but alright, I'll allow it. And then like 10 seconds later, after this gunfight's been happening, the guy starts shooting at him again. He's hanging upside down by his foot improbably, and he's been
finishing the
shot,
job.
but he's still alive. And he's deciding, I'm gonna keep shooting at John Travolta's character.
That's a guy who does his job.
He finishes it
That's
up.
right.
He's not like he doesn't know he's in a movie. He gets it done.
That's right. Well, I would just, if I got shot the first time and then I find myself precariously dangling by like my foot upside down, I'm gonna just play dead. I'm calling it a day. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
Don't
that's it for
scream
me.
and
No more
wiggle
hit
around.
maiming. And just to like kind of breeze past all the other ridiculous shit that happens in this movie, one is very bad. Brendan Fraser is hilarious in it, and he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be like a weird, creepy doctor, but he's just kind of, he looks weird and like haggard, and he's just like, "Ah, yes, Mr. Travolta, I see you have come to my place."
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and then there's a shootout on a football field where a sniper is shooting John Travolta, but like, you know those blocker like foam pads that they like showed
I know the
guys,
ones.
like, yeah, so like John Travolta's taking cover behind those from this guy with a sniper rifle, and I don't feel like the foam padding would stop a bullet from a sniper, like a 50 cal, like if you're hiding behind one. And also like
got to say now.
they show like the guy's point of view as he's like shooting at John Travolta, and like his whole bottom torso is like sticking out, and the guy is still just like trying to get a headshot. it's ridiculous. And like John Travolta beats the guy. Get this, he throws a football at him, that clonks him in the head, and that defeats the sniper.
That's an American way
Sorry,
to
go
stop
ahead.
somebody.
That's right. It's America football right there. And then just one last thing to gripe about this movie is the fucking finale is the funniest shit ever. So John Travolta eventually confronts Brendan Fraser in like the backyard, and like the
backyard.
in like the backyard of like this asylum, like old person's hospital sort of place, and Brendan Fraser's there. He's like, yes, I have a shovel. As you can see, I'm digging your grave. And then John Travolta runs. He goes to this like meth lab that's just in the basement of this place. He there's a shootout, and like they just seem to hit nothing but beakers and like shit, causing a giant chemical fire and like shit. And people are just like, I can't breathe. I'm in this chemical explosion. And then finally, there's looks like neo-Nazis, I think, who are like cooking the drugs or whatever. Anyways, John Travolta escapes the shootout. Brendan Fraser's there, and then he says Brendan Fraser's character, "You're under arrest." And then Brendan Fraser's like, "Oh me, oh my!" And then this fucking old woman from behind shoots Brendan Fraser, just one of the residents of the nursing home who hasn't been in this movie at all before this, just fucking has a shotgun and just blasts Brendan Fraser in the back. Brendan Fraser is bleeding out of his chest from this shotgun wound he received in the back. John Travolta's completely unscathed because and then Brendan Fraser just falls onto John Travolta's character, and you think that's the most ridiculous shit. But then the meth lab blows up, and the thing is before the meth lab blows up, Brendan Fraser falls onto John Travolta, bleeding from his chest, dies, gets blood all over John Travolta, falls over. All the old folks are clapping yay! And in the middle of this applause, yay, kablooey! And the fucking woman with the shotgun gets blown back.
Whoa.
Out of frame, and that's the end of the scene. They don't address that. That's just
credits
it's
roll.
Almost it's like a fucking gag almost, and it's just
that description reminds me. So I watch a lot of stand-up comedy. That's also a thing I ingest a lot of.
Oh hell yeah.
Tom Segura tells a story about kids telling stories, where it's just all over the place, and it's just it doesn't have the cogent
rhyme or reason.
Yeah, rhyme or reason. And you describing this movie makes me think a child wrote it, and then he gets shot in the back, and then he's bleeding from the front, and then it blows up, and all the old folks are like, "Yay!"
Then there's an explosion.
And I forgot. Okay, one more ridiculous thing that happens from the movie. This happens probably midway through when John Travolta finally is suspecting something is amiss with Brendan Fraser. But he's on the roof of this old folks' home. Brendan Fraser is about to look out of his window and see John Travolta doing the snoopity snoop. And so then John Travolta sees a tree with a dangling branch. And so John Travolta runs and leaps to the tree to grab the branch to swing down to the ground. And this is in the movie. He fucking grabs the tree branch and just plummets and then fucking lands on the ground 3 stories and then gets knocked the fuck out. And this is the hardened detective we're supposed to think is gonna solve this football player's death. He just fucking failed at descending 2 flights of stairs. It's just the most. If you can't, it's on Amazon Prime. You don't even have to spend money on it if you have the Amazon Prime. You want an absolute mind fuck of a film.
What's it called again?
The Poison Rose.
The Poison Rose. That's right. Okay.
Morgan Freeman's in it. I don't even remember what he did. I don't know what he does in that movie.
Just did a voiceover in the credits or something.
I think he's the one who's kind of I say there's something fishy going on at that old folks home.
Goddamn, John.
That's right.
He called for mine or shit. Who knows?
Oh man, it's truly the most baffling movie I've seen in a very long time. I've watched some fucking stinkers. I've made it I'm no stranger to watching bad movies. We've talked about how I love almost watching bad movies more than I like watching good movies. But this movie, There is more to talk about. I mean, shit, you can't give a flabbergasted description of a movie unless it's truly something just abysmal. I don't know. It's so bad. Don't get super drunk. Maybe trip balls while you're watching it. This movie is fucking insane, though.
Sounds fantastic.
That's right. And that's my Brendan Fraser subject.
It's like quite a character for him to do.
The evil doctor guy?
Yeah, I don't feel like I mean, not to shit on Brendan Fraser. I wouldn't do that, but just like a strong German accent doesn't seem like something I picture him pulling off.
It's not even a German accent. He's just like an eccentric sounding dude who just kind of sounds like he's trying to be like, he sounds like he's like a third generation descendant of like a Nazi prison camp guard or something like that.
Okay.
But like born in America. I don't know. I don't even know if he's the best part of the movie, but he looks and sounds absolutely fucked up in the movie. It's insane. I don't know. It's such a fucking thing.
Who are you drawing there?
This is John Travolta from the poster.
Okay. I'm attempting one too, but it's not working at all.
You're just going Brendan Fraser.
I don't know anymore.
I mean, that's pretty close to what he looks like in the movie. He actually has that fucked up. Did you Google a picture of him in the movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, because he has a really fucked up eye in the movie.
Oh, okay.
I've seen pictures. I've looked up pictures of John Travolta more recent, like since I've seen that movie, to see if like his eyes. And it's like a weird morbid curiosity, but to see if his eyes are as fucked up as they look in the movie, and they are not, from what I can tell. I don't know. Apparently Brendan Fraser has been through the ringer lately. If you've kept with the news about him, but I mean, he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. But I have no ill will against Mr. Fraser.
That's right. And
Tall
Aaron,
salad and scrambled eggs.
I could not put these in the other chat.
Did you just do the Fraser?
Yeah, the theme song.
That's right. Mummies and wrapped up. I can't do it. Anyways, just real quick, I just want to say, for folks who are watching at home, you may have noticed that Aaron hasn't been drawing in the thing. It's because we're having some technical difficulties getting him the latest version of DrawPile, which is a necessity, I guess. But real quick, he has been drawing stuff, and he sent some to me via private message.
The first one was the parade. The parade was the first image.
So this is
That's Arthur.
Arthur.
Hey,
Arthur.
what a wonderful kind of day.
Is that the theme song?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I should watch the show. Or I guess I shouldn't. It's a kids show. And
it's a kids show. It's one of those things where you'll feel like you're losing your mind.
You're being talked down to. Hey Arthur, I'm an adult.
As an adult, I feel I can handle adult things, but you're only 5. So let's do adult. And then they find out by the end that they're not ready to do adult things. I'm assuming that's how a lot of the show goes.
I mean, they do a lot more than I did at that age. Just, they go across town by themselves.
Oh yeah. I always thought like I was just a lame kid who was like, oh no, other people are going across town as children, and it turns out I was completely wrong. Like, kids in TV shows have way more interesting lives than regular kids do.
And way less responsible parents. That's pretty much what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, your mileage may vary on that second one, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, you're pretty spot on.
I think a lot of the shows are written by people that grew up when you could venture out a little bit more than you can now.
Yeah. Like all those librarians who are just like, oh, I don't know why people are so worried about so-and-so. I would eat dirt as a kid. And I'd be like, that sounds fucked up, actually. I don't think you should have been doing that.
Kids love to eat dirt. I will say, if you let a kid be near dirt, they're going to eat some of it. Especially when they're really little.
Everybody's had
Especially-
dirt.
Yeah.
Especially if they've had dirt, like the chocolate gummy worms treat that people sometimes make for parties.
Oh, God. That is a thing I did not discover existed until late in high school.
Oh, it's
Oh,
real.
really?
That's just, it was not, to say it wasn't on the menu.
Hey, you know that thing you never want to eat? How about we make a food that looks like it?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Put gummy worms and bugs in it too, just to make it extra appetizing.
I love, one of my favorite things is just hearing the differences in my life from people my age who just lived like, you know, not to sugarcoat it, I grew up in a not great place,
Okay.
not great area of our fair city.
I've heard them.
And so it's always like, you know, I always feel people's always shocked when they hear about my childhood in terms of just like, oh no, like it was not great.
Sure, it's dramatically different, yeah.
No, yeah, that sounds like nice things you were privileged to have. I did not have such things.
But I never take for granted what I had. But it's always interesting, like,
Right.
to see, especially people like who don't. There are a lot of people who don't understand the differences.
Yeah. People
And
were
they're just like, what do you mean? That's just a thing. I'm like,
Not for everyone.
Not for
Hey,
everyone
where's
at all.
my iPhone? Like, what's the big deal? It's like, I can understand. But this next drawing I posted up of yours is a topical one. I want to say.
That was the first thing I drew because everybody was drawing. There was a lot of bomb-related drawings happening, and I was like, I don't have a bomb, but I was talking about the restaurant industry being just dead. So
I like to think that the bomb is paying its respects. Like it's still like an inanimate object, but it's like it brought flowers somehow.
Like, I miss you,
it has that like
Applebee's.
lean over of just like sadness.
Yeah.
There's a really great as a meme comic or whatever, where it's just a picture of two beans, and I don't know if you've seen it. It just says something how you bean, and then the other it clips to the bean, and it's just a zoom up picture of the second bean, and everybody's just like, I like how there's no facial expression, there's no anything, but we can all tell that the second bean is just fed up with the first bean shit, and I'm just like, yeah, you can express a lot with nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
There it is. That's pretty great.
That is good.
yeah.
It's true, too.
It's just like, one of my favorites. Just two panels. Just
Less can be more.
Oh yeah, and I see the there's a in the Google Images is a post where it's like the meme like text where it's at the top and at the bottom.
yeah.
It's like probably the greatest thing I ever drew when I was 12. That bean doesn't even have a face, but it looks so done with that other bean's shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna post this one. I think it's got a nicer sort of homebrew quality to it. Oh shit, we're gonna get a little bit shit. Sorry, what were we gonna say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, it's just like that. It's always hilarious to me. Just how much you can convey with so little is always fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa, that was weird.
Yeah. Sorry, it's hard to really control how you copy and paste stuff into draw.
It kind of like looked like you just painted it on, like a transition to the '90s television.
That is how it looks.
Fade.
A little bit of a Bob Ross transition, just
Yeah.
a white canvas and him with the
Yeah.
giant brush.
Good pull with the Bob Ross. I miss that guy.
I love the Bob Ross. That is my go-to. If the insomnia is really hitting me, I'll just put Bob Ross on.
We were,
I'll get,
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I'll get like halfway through a painting and then it's just.
Yeah. It's good. It's you know, it's good for that purpose. We flew to California in October, and it was a Delta flight, so they have like some other flights might have it, but they have like the screen with all the different stuff you can watch. And one of the things was Bob Ross, and my girlfriend was distracted doing something else, and eventually she looks over, and I'm just like sitting there watching Bob Ross on the plane, and she's just like, "That's what you chose?" And I'm like, "Hell, fuck yeah, that's what I chose. Why? I don't understand why this is a problem."
Why wouldn't I? It's great.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about when I was dating Ryan, we were watching a lot of Bob Ross, like Netflix and stuff like that, because I mean it was easy for her to fall asleep too, and I mean shit, I love Bob Ross and I love learning to paint. But my favorite aspect of Bob Ross's shows were when he first got that intro with like him and the giant paintbrush, like painting in like the intro thing, because like in the episodes where he just had that done for the show, he's just like so pumped about it. It's kind of adorable. He's just kind of like, that's our little animation. I have my friend Bob in there make that. It's a little painter man, I think we're gonna call him. And I tell you, I'm just head over heels over that animation out there. It's incredible. I just call him Little Painter Man, and he's gonna be at the start of every show. And I'm just thrilled to have it. It's truly some great special effects work by Bob in there. So Little Painter Man, you're gonna be seeing a lot more of him now.
Just to want to reiterate the title one more time, Little Painter Man, in case you didn't hear me the first few times.
just so like, and like it's like multiple episodes like after he got it that he's like so thrilled to have Little Painter Man just on the show. It's you know it's just pure. I don't know. There's like
everything
you
he
can't-
does is pure.
yeah, everything about it, it's just the most wholesome shit. Like no one ever said anything. Like no one was ever like, oh Bob Ross, he did some shit. You know, he like got his son on the show, and his son's like, he'll like he's like, here's my son's painting. He just did a lovely painting over here, and it's like fucking just as good as Bob Ross's shit.
I
It's just
absolutely love anytime his son was on the show. Only as like an adult watching it now, and with my sense of humor, seeing I don't remember his son's name.
I'm gonna look it up for you real quick.
Michael, like something like that.
Michael
Michael sounds
Ross.
about right.
Little
Bob
Painter
Ross.
Man is what he calls
It's
him.
it's such an aesthetic because of the time period, you know, the 80s into the early 90s, like the
Oh, yeah.
mullet, the big glasses, the rings, and stuff like that. And you see
Describe
that-
it.
Huh? You see that image now, and the first, like, because of my weird sense of humor, the first thing I thought of when I started watching it again, you see his son, and I'm just like, that guy fucks. 100% that guy fucks.
Oh, that
No
got
question.
mad trim in the fucking 70s. Like, look at this guy. Fucking knee deep in pussy, this guy was. This guy was getting more fucking trim than a goddamn tailor's.
But like
I'm gonna-
that thought makes me laugh. But like I
Yeah.
know for a fact, like I was saying recently, I was like, I wish I met young me, or like young me met new me, like current me, because he would be flabbergasted at the person I am today.
I think I'd hate
Right.
myself. I don't know.
I mean,
Not that I think
would-
there's anything wrong with me now, but I don't know. I had different values at the time.
I was an annoying fucking shit, like, up until 2 years. I don't know. I always, like, whenever I look back at myself, like, I think about what the shit I was doing, like, a year and a half ago, and I'm just like, what the fuck was I doing? So I think me from 10 years ago would be, like, pretty okay with me now, but me now would, like, punt me through, like, a fucking football upright.
I feel like it would be that I always wish I could have that conversation with me of just being like, you know, if you just do what you like doing and not care about anything else ever, you'll have so much more fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Uh,
out of a lot of lessons for shit to avoid.
well, just think like, you know, your experiences in your life shape who you are, which is great. But just little things like, you like this thing, do that. Don't worry about what anybody thinks about it, because it doesn't have value to them. It has value to you, kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my physical appearance is something that I've struggled with a lot in my life, but realizing that like I don't matter, like I don't care what anybody thinks about how I look, as long as I think I look fine or
Fuck yeah, man.
enjoy how I look. Like I went to a wedding 2 days ago. My mother got married.
Oh,
Shout out to
congratulations.
Anita.
Hey, congratulations, Lavita!
L-A-N-I-T-A.
Lanita?
Lanita.
I'm so sorry. Congratulations, Lanita!
But she finally married my stepfather, and
Aw, that's lovely.
we had to dress up because it was a wedding. It's a very small affair because of the old COVID. But you know, it was like I didn't have nice clothes to wear, so I'm in a white button-down shirt that's just slightly too big, and a kilt and some nice shoes, and
Nice, rocking the
I'll send you a picture.
I'd love to.
And it's just like one of the things where I'm like, I have this. I have really ridiculous, out of control hair because I like having long hair and I don't really take that great care of it. But I have black painted fingernails, like, and it's just like if this version of me met me at any other period of my life, it'd be such a weird
They have lots of questions.
thing to look at. I love that you're drawing him now.
I have to.
I mean, come on. Look at the. I got more of these. Look at this guy. He got more bush. If he got more bush, he'd be writing the song "Clump."
I'll send you the picture of me at the wedding.
This dude was in so many holes. He something golf.
Might as well be called Stanley Yelnats. Got it.
Hey, damn, that is a good one. Very nice.
I can do
You said you're.
you're doing this whole day.
Let me see. I got one more.
Do you?
No, I don't.
I gave you an out.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Where did I start drawing John Travolta on? What layer? Oh, there it is. I drew it on your layer.
Oh, now I'm just thinking of John Travolta films, and the only thing I could think of is, what is it, From Russia with Love?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah!
Maybe the last one I've seen of his.
That movie.
Have you seen it?
Is it From Russia with Love? No,
It's like a parody of that now. I'm gonna look it up.
Paris
From
with
Moscow Club or something like that.
From Paris with Love.
That's it.
That's the one. It's
Yep.
Jonathan Rhys Meyers and John Travolta from Paris with Love. He's got like a bald head and like a goatee.
Neo-Nazi, like skin.
Oh,
Looks
God,
like Joe
dude.
Rogan.
It's such a weird film.
Super weird.
Got one of my favorite moments, though. They end up breaking up one crime scene where there's a bunch of cocaine. He just starts shoving it in an urn, and then they go interrogate a bunch of other kids in this place, and the kids are like, "We don't know anything," and he gestures to Jonathan Rhys Meyers' character. He just drops the urn, and all this cocaine falls on the ground. And they're cops, and so he goes, "What is that? What's this? What's all this?" And they're like, "That's not ours." He goes, "I found it at your place." Like, and it's just this whole like corrupt cop like backhanded techniques, and I'm just like, wow, it's such a weird. Like who wrote who made this movie? I have to find out more about this.
Does John Travolta have like a contract where he has to be in just a completely
Batshit movies?
Yeah, it sounds like it, because like that movie sounds like the same. That sounds like the same level of batshit writing as The Poison Rose. To be honest, like it's the same. I kind of want to watch From Paris with Love now. It sounds like
I would recommend it. It's fucking bananas. It's great. He like smuggles his gun in. He smuggles his gun in Pringles cans to Paris.
What?
Which is not legal in any way, shape, or form.
Airport skaters aren't like what? Is it because like there's aluminum foil in the Pringles can or something like that? Like
I have no idea, but he smuggles it in, and Jonathan Rhys Meyers' character is like, what is that? And he goes, I can't go anywhere without Mrs. Jones. And he's like, what? And he just starts saying, because we got a thing going on. Like it's fantastic. It's a fantastically ridiculous movie.
Oh man,
I've forgotten just about everything from it, but I have seen it.
You have seen it?
I remember seeing it, but I don't remember anything about it. I don't know why my brain erased it. Who knows?
Did you know it was gonna be bad going into it?
It needed to make space for things that matter.
Yeah. No, I didn't really know much going into it. Somebody else had it.
I was about to say
put it on.
somebody else.
Somebody else put it on, and I was there, and I just watched it, but I don't remember just about anything from it.
That's I'm gonna look up what movies John Travolta has been in lately because I can't imagine. No one talks about John Travolta like aside from making fun of him. So I mean, what movies has he been in lately? Just completely very tangentially related to John Travolta is there's this like old lady at my the credit union I used to work at. He or she was like super old. There's a lot going on there. I don't even want to like get into it because it's not my place to talk about. But she, God bless her, she's trying. She doesn't work there anymore either because she had like a whole thing. But one of my first days working there, I'm there, and then like we have our morning briefing. And then we go our separate ways, and me and Sandy had already kind of developed a rapport, so like we're all splitting to get started on work. And I'm just like, Sandy, like John Travolta in Grease. And then she's just like, she doesn't know what I'm doing, and she's just baffled, and she goes, Ian. Like,
This seems like a proper response if you don't know the reference.
Roll with it.
It's like, all right, I either just get awkward or I just try to roll with it. Exactly.
Let's call the trooper. That's what that is.
And Aaron, are you okay with me posting the picture you sent me in the DrawBomb? Do you want that kind of kept private? Because it is a great photo.
I don't mind.
Okay, cool.
This is me.
This is Aaron.
Oh,
And that's
you are
you.
rocking the kilt. I like it.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I respect a dude who's gonna rock the kilt because first of all, ain't no shame. Second
No.
of all, it does look fucking cool, and when it's comfy.
Yeah, I'd be psyched to be in a wedding where they wanted me to wear a kilt. It's like I'm not sure what other opportunity I'm gonna get.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of actually like. There's a Aaron. Have you ever watched Letterkenny?
I've only seen clips of Letterkenny.
Okay, so I talked about my I got really obsessed with the show a few months back before all the COVID, and I was talking about it a decent amount on the show. I've watched all the episodes. I've conquered my addiction. Look at show. I mean, I'm excited for that new season and then like right into the veins again. But one of the characters wears a kilt to a wedding, and he looks pretty fucking badass in it. Because like that show loves to have at least 3 scenes where they do slow motion and characters like slow motion with music. They do it at least 2 or 3 or 4 times an episode. It's kind of a crutch, but they do it for when they're all walking in their suits, and it is kind of badass because it's nice to when people are dressed up really nice. It is kind of there's something cool about it. And he comes in with a kilt, and it looks pretty fucking badass, especially with the slow motion and stuff.
Yeah, like I started wearing the kilts. It was a curiosity thing. I always wanted a kilt, so I bought one, and I just enjoyed wearing it so much that it just became part of my like standard array of clothes. Just one, like I don't particularly like pants, and and I also don't like shorts. So
fair.
I'm not the biggest fan of clothes in general 98% of the time, but I don't like clothes, but I love to dress up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like such a weird contradiction.
It is, but I get it. Like I'm the same way. Like if I could get by just like wearing a tank top and like a pair of boxers, like I would. But also, if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to wear a $3,000 suit?" I'd be like, "Fuck yes! Why am I not wearing a $3,000 suit right now?"
The last time I dressed up very, very nice, like, and when I do dress up nice, it's usually an occasion or a Tuesday. Like, there's no in between. It's not like I'll dress up nice to go to a bar after work with some people, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I know nowhere. I wear 98% of my life I wear chef whites, so it's just me wearing pajamas essentially all the time.
Right.
Very true.
And so I decided that every now and again just dress up nice, but the kilts were just like it was just a comfort thing, like you know, one of those you can't knock it till you try it things, and you're just like outside on a hot day and the wind's blowing, and you gotta wear in a kilt, and you're just like, this is what they felt like back in the day, just like.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I feel like they'd be super comfortable.
I think we should start a movement. We should try and get kilts in vogue.
It's time.
We can make it happen.
I've seen a lot more people wearing them lately. Like I've been with at least 3-4 people in the city just like wearing kilts, and we always have this moment where we lock eyes and we're just like, yes, just like the silent head nod of.
Yeah, the subtle nod.
You guys do a thing like when 2 motorcyclists pass each other and they have to like wave.
For me, it's just
fellow
like
kilter.
if me and any other African American see each other, there's a slight head nod. It's that, but with the kilts, so it's just we all curtsy. It's great.
There you go. That would be the way to a fellow kilt person. You curtsy to each other. That's great.
No, my aunt took that picture that I showed you of me at the wedding, and I just laughed, and I commented on the photo. I was like, I'm going for the whole I sell turkey legs at the Ren Fair vibe. Like
It's a great vibe. I mean, first of all, that guy is my favorite guy.
He's everyone's favorite guy. Yeah, he's the champ.
I haven't been to a lot of. I think I've been to a Ren Fair once, but if I go to one, I'm like, where the fuck is that turkey leg guy?
If you leave a Ren Fair without having a turkey leg, you've done it wrong.
That's right. Like, you're not even fucking doing the experience, man.
But it's been a new experience in my life, and it's one of those things where it's moments like that where I look at me wearing something like a kilt or like, and I think about young me, and I'm like, I would never, I absolutely would never back in the day. But then I also think I'm like, but why not? Because
Right.
Exactly.
I think it's a lot of people are just like, oh, it looks like a dress, and it's just like, so the fuck what if it looks
Even
like
if it does, who cares?
I got like a couple
I feel
friends.
like
for dudes when they wear dresses, and I'm fucking like, do it, man. Like, first of all, you rock that shit, and second of all, like, who the fuck cares if you wear a dress? I don't know. I don't give a shit. Like, if it looks good, it looks good.
I feel like as I started wearing the kilts, I did get a slight hostility to people who were like, "Are you wearing a skirt?" And then I'm like, "No, I'm wearing a kilt." It only makes it. I think it only upsets me only when someone clearly knows that it's a kilt.
Oh, and they're trying to like make you feel bad.
And being weird and they're like, "Why are you wearing a dress?" And I'm like, "Because I want to."
Yeah, fuck it.
Right. That's the only reason.
Worried about people like.
Life's too short. Wear a dress.
Damn right.
Exactly.
Get that on a shirt.
I was about to say that could be drop. We got 2 DrawBomb t-shirts today.
Perfect. We need the fall line. So.
Yeah. What was the first one again? Shit. Do cocaine with Buddha. That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm gonna make that my tagline on something.
Please, I would be so honored.
I think we'll do it on my Discord.
Do it. That'd be great.
But yeah, I forget how we got on this mighty of a tangent, but
It's
The whole show is a tangent.
Yeah, that's true. This is a show for people to get on tangents.
I like my forget his name again.
Steven Ross.
Yes, little Steven.
Little painter man.
He's
Wait,
the
I'm gonna
little
draw a
painter man. I'll be right back.
But Aaron, I just the show's we got another 30 minutes on the show. We're probably gonna do something called rock paper pencil next, which you are able to participate in because normally just to kind of set it up for. But before I set it up, I also want to say thank you again for being on the show. Really appreciate you coming on.
You're having a great time.
Yeah, go ahead. You can last to chat with. We'd love to have you back on anytime. So rock paper pencil is basically we come up with a theme. A lot of times folks in the chat will start throwing themes at us. By the way, folks in the chat, if you want to throw some themes at us for rock paper pencil tonight, feel free to let loose. But then what happens is we all just do a drawing kind of fitting that theme, and we put it on Twitter. There's a poll, and we just kind of see who people thought pulled the theme.
Sounds cool.
Yep.
I'll see what I can whip up.
I mean, I've enjoyed the little doodles you sent me so far. I actually get a chance to ask you about the font.
I don't know. It's just my head. It was just I was like draw an elephant, and I don't have a drawing pad. The one you gave me forever ago it's somewhere. But I'm doing all this with my mouse, so it's just me like drawing an elephant. I'm just like elephant.
I mean, honestly, for mouse work, it's not bad at all.
Trying anything successfully with a mouse takes skill.
I spent my entire life drawing maps on Roll20.
Oh boy.
Oh wow.
We should get a Purple Heart for drawing anything with a mouse. I think like the U.S. military should knock on your door and be like, "Dude, what?" And then they should give you one and like walk away.
When I was a kid, it was drawn with a mouse on MS Paint. That was my start, my claim to fame, and then here I am. Look at me now.
Look at me now, Mom. Here I am. Rocked you like a hurricane.
Yeah, drawing is one of those things where I like drawing. It's just one of those things where it's not a skill I've honed in any way, shape, or form. It's never been a passion of me so strong that I've honed it in any way. Just, oh, little painter guy.
Yep.
How cute, little painter guy. Wow, he's just the bee's knees. He's knocked my socks off. What a great animation by my pal here.
I kid you not, he probably did that exact thing.
That's awesome.
Can I just get a clip of this? What's his name? Steven? You said Steven Ross? I just need a sweet image of that, just to use as an icon somewhere.
I saw you just change your Discord thing to doing cocaine with Buddha, which I am happy to see.
And you got the snowflake emoji too.
I literally was scrolling for that. I was like, I know there's gotta be a snowflake emoji.
Absolutely. Well, I'm honored. I really appreciate you doing that.
Great.
Just gonna see which one another friend of mine is just like, what?
Oh man.
I think they call that Nirvana.
Go ahead.
I said I think they call that Nirvana when you're doing cocaine with Buddha.
Yes, they do. That's right. That's how you get.
That's the fast track. That's how you don't have to go through the whole Siddhartha thing.
Yeah, you get to cut through the lines.
What, you want to go fucking fast in a fucking desert for 40 days? Bullshit. Just do cocaine.
With Buddha himself.
One of the only books I actually read for summer reading in high school.
Was, what?
Siddhartha.
Oh, Siddhartha Gautama.
Such a weird one for me to choose to be like, yeah, I'll read this one.
Was this a pair of footprints or when he was an umbrella? That's a really obscure joke for anyone who knows about it.
Oh god. No, I didn't do a lot of reading in high school, which is hilarious considering I love reading.
I love reading too. I think school in general just has a really fucked up way of trying to reinforce reading. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, there's some good books that they would make you read for projects in school, but like because it's attached to a school project and because you're like you have to read it, you know, it's just kind of blows.
Being forced to do anything kind of takes the joy out of it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have a good solution for it either, but I feel like there's definitely got to be a better way because like I love reading. I love like especially if it's like a nice day out. I love pulling up a lawn chair, getting some sun, reading a book. I don't know. There's nothing better. Drinking a beer, getting hammered while I read too.
That's the last book I read was Ready Player One.
Oh, how's the book?
I loved the book. I enjoyed the movie because it's sparkly lights and
Oh yeah.
you know, but like the book, I read the book in about 2.5 days.
Yeah.
Which, you know, for me, like it's not a hard read. It's the hardest part about the book is that it is in itself a giant 80s reference.
Right.
Like hardcore 80s, like references that like went over my head, and I know a lot about the 80s and stuff. I was like, so I've had to do a little research of like personal research, to be like, what the hell are they talking about? But a lot of stuff I understood, and like it's like if that's something you're into, it's so much fun to read, and like the whole sci-fi world that's built into it is fantastic. And
I'm not sure. Read that.
it was one of those books, like sometimes a book just grips you and you just keep reading it, and it just did. Like I just read the whole thing.
Some aspects of the dystopia I think are pretty interesting, and I've taken some cues from it for this project I've been writing for a while. Like I think there's a lot that people do shit on the book and the movie for, I think certain things may be more valid than others, but everyone's opinion is their own. I'm never gonna yuck anybody's yum, but I also haven't seen the movie, so I don't fucking know what I would feel about any of it. And I haven't read the book. But I've seen clips of the movie and like the sort of like the way society is and like how they truly present the VR as an escape from like these like fucking like stacked trailer parks essentially.
Yeah.
Is really I think cool. I think like there's a lot they kind of set up about the future that I don't disagree with in terms of like how to present a dystopia, especially with the way society is right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I love the way they portray society, and that like, it's so much easier to world build with words on page than it is in a movie that's 2.5 hours long.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I feel like anytime something's adapted from a source material into a movie, part of you is always like, okay, they're gonna make a movie about it. That's great. And then immediately the thought is, they should make a short series that really delves into the lore more, because I know everyone's gonna be upset about this book being translated into a 2-hour movie.
That's like there's so many like. One that always I think of is everyone loves, or at least most people love, the Scott Pilgrim movie.
Yeah, I love the Scott Pilgrim movie, but I
like
love the
too.
Scott Pilgrim books.
I love the Scott Pilgrim books. I love the movie. I also like their hits. I love the movie. Like when I was watching the movie in theaters, there was a point. So like up until that point, I was just like, this movie's fucking awesome. It's hilarious. The editing is on point. They're just like the timing is great. All this is just really nailing like the whole vibe. And then you just hit a point after I think he fights Lucas Lee, who's played by Chris Evans, the third boyfriend, where you kind of feel like you can sense the people making the movie are just like, fuck, we got another four boyfriends to go through. Let's do this. Crank, and they just start.
The problem with that was I don't believe Brian Lee O'Malley hadn't finished the last book when they started writing.
I read all of the books right.
Oh.
I mean, maybe not when they were making the movie,
when
but
they were making the movie. When the movie came out, it had been done. But before, up until that point, there were 2 endings for the movie.
Really?
There's an ending where he ends up with knives, and there's an ending where he ends up with Ramona.
Oh yeah.
But there's so much more in the books. There's
Yeah.
like larger chunks of time go by. Like it's a whole
Well-
about a year of time goes by in the books.
There's like, well, the movie I feel like didn't. I mean, I forget it, how I have to actually see the movie again. It's been so long since I watched it.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I just watched it
a lot.
pretty recently too. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but so like in the graphic novel, which I think really makes the graphic novel series just like really well done and smart, is there's a point where you kind of get to the realization that Scott Pilgrim's not really the innocent protagonist.
Yeah, he's not really
Yes,
a hero.
so it's kind of played in the background of the movie that Scott might not be the best person. Like he's really not, which is why like even like the joke throughout the whole thing, especially with like what's his name, Wallace.
Wallace Ball.
Yeah, he's just being like so you should break up with your fake high school girlfriend.
Yeah.
Break up with like you for a while you're like, why is he like this to him about this stuff, and then you're like, oh wait, no, Scott's in the wrong here. Like he's not a great guy.
Yeah.
And they play it for laughs a lot in the movie, but there are also key moments in the movie where it kind of makes that separation, where it leaves that fantastical element and it zooms out, and you're looking at it through the lens of like, oh, Scott's not a great guy for what he's doing right now.
Right.
Right.
Like, in the book, they play it very, very well, where the whole idea of the Nega Scott, which is played for a joke in the movie because you can't fit that into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
It plays a real purpose in the book, in that it's him realizing that he's been a shit guy.
And he's
Like,
got
Nega Scott is what everybody else sees.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he is like the guy, like, he's a jerk. Like, his whole relationship that he had in the past with Kim was the whole thing where he thinks, he bested a giant guy who was like 10 stories tall and fought a bunch of dudes to win Kim, where in reality, he beat up a guy. Like,
Just like a poor little kid too, like a kid who's like a lot smaller than him, right?
yeah, like it was more like just a nerdy dude. Like, it wasn't necessarily like smaller than, but it was just like he used his physical dominance to win the day.
Yeah,
in
and
that
that,
situation.
and it can, like I like how you phrase that, because it does also set up that just like you shouldn't be fucking fighting people all the time.
Yeah,
Like, that's
like-
not a healthy way to go through life. Like,
Because they introduce it in the it's played for laughs in the movie. Like, it's just a small tidbit of like, violence is not something he starts in the movies,
right?
but that's not necessarily true about him in his whole life.
Mhm.
Like, you don't like how does somebody become such a good fighter? You must have fought in the past. Who were you fighting? Why were you fighting? And then no one asked that question, because it's just like, oh, look, it's fantastical lights and sparkles and
We're
it's a
gonna
fun
get through
little-
7 boyfriends in 2.5 hours. Like, how are we gonna have a backstory for all?
And
of them?
the whole movie, I believe, takes place over like a
Like,
week.
Yeah, it takes like
Yeah.
no time, and like, by the end of the movie, you're supposed to believe that him and Ramona are supposed to,
Be together. And
Yeah.
the book kind of plays it out in a way where it's just like him being with like it's supposed to, especially like third acty, like in the movie and the last book of the book, it's just like the whole bit of are you fighting her for her? Like, no, yeah, because I love her. And then he gets power, but that's not enough. You're like, what are you fighting for? You're like, for me, that's the power you need. Like, you don't do these ridiculous things because you think you love somebody. You do them because they're the things that you feel like you should be doing or that are for you, kind of deal. Like,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Like, if you
I really
have
should
never
read
read them, I highly recommend reading them.
Yeah, I
yeah.
love
I forgot. We should have said spoilers for Scott Pilgrim, but it's been out for a
Yeah.
while now.
Very
And
well.
Yeah.
he's working with Snot Girl and stuff now. But I should read through those books again, because I am a lot older and wiser since I read those,
Yeah.
and I think I'd really connect with like just a lot more happening in the book than
I have them
did
all.
in
It's
the
been a
movie.
while since I read through them.
I just feel
But-
like there's that
but-
moment when reading the books where you do realize that Scott's not the best guy, and you're like, oh, and then it makes the whole book even better.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, and then you're seeing it from a different perspective. And if you don't catch the thing about him not being a great guy, you can still enjoy the book, But when you do catch it, you enjoy it even more because you're like, okay, now where's this gonna go? Like,
Definitely.
you know,
Yeah, and I think it's also just like it's like a cool kick in the pants. I think that a lot of readers who are reading like because like the book series, I don't want to say panders, but it is very like video games, and it's sort of like almost it seems like a celebration of retaining your childhood, your child nature, being sort of like able like it kind of at first it seems like the book series is very like yeah fucking like don't play in a band, don't like I don't know I sound like a old curmudgeon when I say this shit, but like the focus on video games and the focus on like how these fights with her boyfriends are structured like video games, it sort of sets you up thinking like, oh yeah, everything's hunky dory, do shit and just kind of retain that sort of immature. Like it seems like a celebration of retaining the immature nature of yourself, and then when you hit that part where you realize that all of his video game boss fights have been not really morally the thing that is good. I'm having a hard time putting this in words, but like when he has that fight with Nega Scott, which is it's kind of like Link fighting Dark Link in the Water Temple.
yeah.
Like, but it's at you're supposed to kind of take it being like it's more video game type shit, but then behind it is there's that lesson where it's just like no, you gotta grow the fuck up and like realize that what you're doing affects people, and like you can't just live through life being selfish and like an immature asshole, like because you do eventually have to
There's
confront
consequences.
the real world. And I think that's such like a especially because of even nowadays, especially like you get a lot of people who are gamers who are in game culture who are just very like anything that they don't like, they meet with like just such a voracious anger, and like you can't sneeze in a direction without like a lot of people who are embedded in video gaming as a culture. Like I'm on I talked about Civ 11 like his YouTube videos a couple times on this show, and I ventured onto his Discord recently right before he posted his latest video. So I've been kind of like talking with folks on that. I met a couple folks who were nice. That's how I met that one Czech Republic guy who I was talking to you about the other day, Brandon. But these there's a lot of people who are on that Discord who are just like, for lack of a better term, just fucking shit, pieces of shit, like.
Yeah.
Like fucking assholes, and I'm just and like they get so like I you don't have to be on that Discord for more than, and like Civi 11 in his YouTube videos, just to give him credit, he's very anti a lot of the things that like
I was gonna say I haven't seen his stuff yet, so it's hard for me to know what his voice is because sometimes
he's got like a character on it called Cancer Mouse who represents like those toxic aspects of gamer culture. Like he'll like be doing a review, and then Cancer Mouse will come on the show and he'll be like, hey Silly, can I talk to you about white genocide? And then he'll be like, oh Jesus Christ, get out of here, Cancer Mouse. And you don't have to be on his Discord for more than like 10 seconds before you start running into folks like that if you press the right buttons. And just like, so there's like that sort of attitude in video gaming, and like strict adherence of it, where it's just like get good pussy, fucking just all those sort of toxic aspects. And I think Scott Pilgrim sort of addressing that almost, and like doing it while also setting up the series as being for gamers, just sort of sets people who have that mindset up for that kick in the pants, where it's just like, hey, quit being such a fucking dick. Like your life isn't all video games and like just getting the shit you want. Sometimes you gotta like be there for your friends. Sometimes you have to like be a good person, and first of all you have to like confront the negative aspects about yourself, figure out what about you is like detrimental and toxic for other people, and you have to like, if you don't confront the toxic natures of yourself, you're just going to end up isolating yourself from everyone you love and people who would otherwise love to be there for you. And I think a lot of people on like that Discord and just in gamer culture just don't have a grasp of that. So I think I wish maybe that plot point had landed a bit harder for some people, or
or at least in the movie.
yeah, since that stuff came out like 10 years ago, maybe a lot of folks just aren't, they missed that sort of window of opportunity.
Yeah,
But I still think it's a very, sorry to go on a long tangent, but I just think it's a
right.
very cool sort of thing that series does that I think is what makes it such, takes it from a fun, really enjoyable series in the first 4 books, and then that all happens in the 5th book, and it sort of carries over into the 6th, and I think that's what really propels the series into being just as phenomenal and well received as it is.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those where the book is like telling you, it's like telling you this fantastic story with this very interesting idea, and then the more you get into it, you get to the end, and it's just like, grow up. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it's so simple, but like they handle it very artfully, but it's just like
It's
grow
done
up.
very, very well. And it's
Oh.
good,
Go ahead.
but I was gonna say, in regards to the movie, I feel like, it's hit or miss depending on who you are, depending on if you enjoy the source material. But I could not physically picture that movie any other way,
Hmm.
because it's one of those things where, like, can you express all that in a movie?
Well, how we got on the subject in the first place is, I wish it had been a TV series.
Yeah. I mean, that's like I said, everything you could just, I feel like they're doing everything now that we've had movies of in the past like 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
Everybody's looking back on and going, okay, can we do this more accurately to the source material now that we have
Yeah.
these streaming platforms and these crazy budgets, especially like they're doing a Lord of the Rings show. Like
What?
They are?
Yeah, on Amazon.
Ooh.
Amazon's doing a Lord of the Rings series that's supposed to be like, extremely more in detail, closer to the books. They're redoing Percy Jackson and the Olympians or whatever as a
Yeah.
series on Disney Plus. What else is being remade? There's a bunch of stuff being remade.
Shit. I just saw one the other day. They're not even okay, so sort of along that same vein, before we get on too much of another tangent, sorry to cut you off. I just made Brandon read Perfume, Story of a Murder, the book.
Yeah.
I've gushed about that book a lot. We agreed to do a little book club thingy, and he read it, or he listened to an audiobook, which is just the same thing. And we discussed the merits of the book and had a nice little discussion about it. And there's a movie of the
I
book
haven't
with
watched it
Alan
yet.
Rickman in it, and I think the movie actually does do a fantastic job. I don't think I would change the movie at all. There's like a weird 7-year tangent that the book goes on that you can really cut out without really missing anything. But the movie I think does a great job. But then I just saw that Netflix recently, maybe in the last year or so, has a show on Netflix called Perfume. I think it's got a different subtitle than Story of a Murderer, but it looks like it might be based on the book. I haven't
snap.
verified this. It's called Perfume. But
Into that.
if they made a TV series out of Perfume, I get it. There is a lot in that book that maybe you could expound upon, but I don't know. I thought the movie did actually a very solid job of what it needed to do. But
Well-
that's another thing where they're also doing that. I
Yeah,
think-
while we've been discussing this whole thing, the one thing I've been thinking about is nowadays that we have so many we have the ability to all these streaming platforms and the ability to make all these TV shows and budgets and ways to make something that's 15 hours of TV. It's almost really impressive when you see a movie that managed to get a book done in 90 minutes. It's wow, that had to be difficult. Now that they're able to expound upon everything, it's wow, that seems like a real challenge to take a book and make it, crush it down to 90 minutes. The good ones anyway. When they pull it
Yeah.
off, it's just wow, that's a
Like Fight
task.
Club. I still love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
But that movie is where they managed to really just tighten that shit up. It's just such a tight, good experience. You were saying something, Aaron.
And the
sorry.
thing, and that's just a testament to the filmmaker being here's the source material, here are the beats. I need to get all this done in this amount of time, get this out, and maintain this still story. Get it
Right.
get it right. Because sometimes sometimes people don't get it right, and sometimes people just knock it out of the park. I'm just looking at you drawing this, and I'm I know some of these characters.
I saw Brandon start drawing. As soon as I saw the nose, I was just like, "That's fucking Manny right there."
Those characters above looked kind of Amos-like, so
Yeah, we still gotta get that website fixed.
we do. Yeah, it's like doing an adaptation is like almost like I feel like probably the same kind of skill as like editing, to like look at a big picture and be like, all right, what are the important details here? What do we gotta keep in this thing to make it still tell the same story?
This isn't me trying to like boast or anything like that, but in college I took 2 creative writing classes with the same teacher. I did the first one, and then she liked my work enough. She invited me.
God, you went to college. Brag about it.
Jesus Christ, he brings it up every chance he gets. It's really
guys. You
sickening.
can't tell, but I'm in a lot of debt.
No, I got that from when you said you went to college.
Yeah, I went to college. So I was in these writing classes, and how it would work is we would get like a window of time to write a story. Sometimes we would have short stories we had to write every week that were based on a theme, and then we had 3 longer stories that we had to write, like minimum of 12 pages, that there was no prompt except for like the last one, which the prompt was write something you wouldn't normally like, that you haven't written like before. So they would tell you like, hey, maybe you should, like, for me they were like, you should try writing a book from a woman's perspective, etc., and maybe do something that's not like. My first 2 stories I wrote were a dude has a time traveling monkey that gives him lottery numbers, and the monkey adopts his girlfriend. And then the second story was a heavy metal band hires a voodoo priestess as a bassist, and it causes a giant riot and a bunch of people dying. So my third story had to be like written from a woman's perspective and not fucking ridiculous. But when you'd write these stories, and then we would have to read the stories, and every week we would pick 2 of these longer stories, and then we'd have a critique in the class. And whenever we were doing the critique, I would sort of be like, hey, so like, I like the book. I really, basically the book goes like this, blah 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 blah, and then like I would say like what I thought was good about that, what I thought was bad about that in my critiques. And one of the notes I got in my class was my teacher said like, wow, you're really good at like, you can like break down a person's story in like 2 sentences, and I think that that's something very valuable, etc., etc. Like, it's good to be able to sort of just nail down the beats of what it is you're trying to make or describe. And I think cutting a book into a movie is similar like that. Like, you have to really figure out what are the important bits.
The job, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
cool.
La-di-da!
It's so interesting watching you guys draw these characters. That's why I read you guys' comic, and it's just like in my head, the only thing I'm thinking of is just like hashtag Aaron for Keith to go. It's just
the best character of the whole story. Even though he was only in for like the last like 8 pages, he was the VIP.
People really stay skateboards away. I think that's what people really do.
Yeah, we were looking for an excuse to put that in there. We had been discussing him on a skateboard for many pages before that.
I'll see if I can find the picture, but we also came up with a really funny idea for a T-shirt that if when we get the comic back over, I would really love.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
While I find this, if you guys want, you guys want to do quick rock, paper, pencil?
I was gonna say if we could, I mean, or otherwise it's pretty much the end.
It's pretty much the end. I mean, if you want, we can do a quick and dirty one, since Aaron's going to be drawing one with a mouse. Oh yeah, by the way, Aaron, you posted another drawing. I want to show people this.
I forget what it was.
Old man.
Old man. I drew an old man.
Oh boy.
This is real quick.
See this old man. Oh yeah, he's a wrinkly boy.
Oh man.
I like all the spots, the liver spots on his head. Great touch. Well done.
I just started drawing lines, and I was like, this looks like a crinkly old man mouth. So
it definitely does.
I love it.
Old men are just lines, after all.
That's right.
That's another shirt right there.
Old men are just lines.
Old men are just lines, after all.
Oh, I don't even know where we have these. Where do we put these T-shirt ideas?
I don't know. I'll have to dig them out.
I want to show people this because it's gonna be a long time before we can make this sort of thing a reality. But this shit. Just
I mean, I would wear this shirt. Would be fun to wear out of context.
Yeah, okay.
You don't need to know the comic to like this shirt.
So this is, keep in mind, folks, Keith the Goat exited Waterlogged Comics by skateboarding away.
A beloved character who left quickly on a skateboard.
And that's, we thought about doing, I put it in the upper left corner, but that's what we thought.
It's a rough sketch. It's a rough sketch, but you get the idea.
But, I mean, I would wear that.
I would totally wear that. I like how rigid, I mean, he did always in the comic, or in that one panel, but I like how rigid they look on the board. There's no, like, bending your knees for, like, balance. They're just, like, they're like a toy or something.
Lego goats.
Exactly. They're Lego goats.
Yeah. I just think about that drawing once a week, and I just chuckle to myself.
It's a good one. It was our peak. So what do you think? Are we calling it, or do you want to do a rock, paper,
a
pencil?
real quick and dirty, like
Okay.
no coloring, black and white. Aaron,
Well, that's that. Let me
Aaron
save
uses
this real
mouse.
quick.
Do you want to save this? Are we saving this one? Has it?
I'm
been
gonna save
saved?
it. I'm saving it right now. Hold on.
He's saving it.
I'm saving it.
Let me get a quick after you save it. Give me a screenshot of Mr. Ross. I'm gonna use that as my profile.
Okay, I'll get that to you.
Right now, I got you covered.
Okay.
Zach, my brother, in the chat. By the way, thanks for participating, Zach. Z Newts. He's been on the show before. Frequent guest.
Last episode, right? Yeah.
But he gave us a topic for the rock paper pencil.
Oh, good. I was just about to ask.
It is Cold War.
Whoa.
And I think we could. I think that's something we can work with. I think we could.
I can
make that.
figure something out for that.
All right.
We don't gotta. For this rock paper pencil, should we? Like I said, we're doing a quick and dirty one, so I'm just gonna.
So what are you asking me?
I'm just gonna do it.
You just do it.
Just do it. I mean, you've done it every time. It's only fair I do it once.
Yeah,
And I'll do
I
it
wish you would do it
walking.
more often. I'm glad this is finally coming up. I wish we could have aired this off the show, but it's good to finally.
Yeah, like, oh, this is the breakdown. This is the breakdown.
Yeah.
That's when it all fell apart.
The camel's back. This is the skateboard that the goat rode away on.
Don't you want to leave 3 spots?
Yeah, we could do 3 spots because then we can fit.
We can all do it.
Aaron's
Yeah,
drawing
exactly.
right
We'll
there.
paste his on and then we'll post it on.
Yeah. I call this the Voltron layout because this is when like all the pieces come together and like.
Right, when they're inside.
Yeah.
I love it.
Alright.
Cold War.
And Cold War.
This is real random while we talk about Cold War. I love Power Rangers. I didn't like it as a kid, but I love watching it as an adult because I just.
That's kind of
had
funny.
a lot of fun.
I mean, I've watched at least one episode of every series of Power Rangers.
Nice. That's I talked with Brandon before about this, but I'd love to do a project where I just do a drawing of all the like fight monsters that they like the monster a week that they fight, like doing like fan art of those. I think would be a really fun project to do. Yeah, but I was watching Power Rangers the one time. I was pretty drunk. I was pretty high. And they did this Voltron like shit where they put the Zord together, and then like they do the thing where they like cut to all of the Rangers like in their cockpit, and they usually do their pose, and then they say something.
Yeah.
And like the one time it was, I don't know if it's like this every episode, and I was just really high when I noticed it this time, but the one time like the shit they said was just actually really cool. I don't know, like they like do the thing and then they cut to them in the cockpits, and then like Pink Ranger just goes, "Oh, I love this part," and it just kind of like the voice acting of it just felt very anime, and I was just kind of like, "Ooh, I got a thrill." I don't know. I love that shit when like they get in the cockpit and then they have like just the pithy phrase that they say real quick to like amp you up for the fight that they're about to do. I love that shit. I don't know.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. It felt like I was watching a live action anime, and
You kind of
like
were.
without trying so hard to be, and I just really appreciate that.
It's so crazy because Power Rangers has been a thing since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's gotten to the point where it can be self-aware of itself. There's a fantastic moment in one of the later seasons of Power Rangers one of the Rangers, like the one of the the oddball Ranger, the one who
Oh yeah, like the one
was
who got a
supposed to be a
convert.
Ranger, who just ended up being one. He comments on the fact that after they morph, there's a large explosion behind them. And he asks like their equivalent of Zordon, like, what's the deal with that? Every time we morph and then there's this giant explosion. And she explains it in a way where it's just like, oh, that's just the extra power from your transforming, like shooting off behind you. And he goes, but like, don't you think that's dangerous? Like, there's just this massive explosion. And she goes, everything. He goes, just don't make sure there's nothing behind you when you transform. You'll be fine. Like, no one should be around.
I love that.
That's great.
And then there's
Why didn't you give us that information earlier? Like, we've been morphing plenty of times. How many people are killed by accident? Like, that should be in the training video when you sit us down and, all right, morphine and you.
Power Rangers training video.
Yeah, that'd be great.
When you hire the high schoolers who are still in high school to pilot the giant mechs, you should maybe sit them down and be like, so when you fucking transform, just, want to give you a heads up.
I like the idea that the training video for Power Rangers is like when you go to a job, it's like from like the 90s Power Rangers. It's old.
Yeah.
It's like an old shitty video.
That's
Power Rangers and you.
That would be incredible.
Dr. Soundcheck, thanks for following. We're being hosted. Oh, we're being hosted. That's what it is.
Thank you. It would
Thank
be
you for hosting.
fantastic to have one if you need another guy to talk to.
Well, we will definitely do that. We're gonna try to have people on most episodes now.
Yeah.
But to finish the Power Rangers tangent, at the end of that episode, one of them loses their ability to morph. There's like an abundance of energy that they have. And to solve the problem, they then go up to the bad guy as normal them, turn around so their back is facing them, put their morpher thing on backwards, and then they morph, and it exhausts all the extra energy and blows up all the bad guys.
Beautiful.
There's payoff.
It's something that's self-aware where you're just like, this is fantastic.
That's amazing. Like, sometimes it's like you think, like, you don't realize that shows like that can be self-aware. Like, I just posted a comic, or I just posted a clip in the DrawBomb links section. I don't know if Brandon, if you want to put it on the screen, you don't have to. But it's from Scooby-Doo. And I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and it's like a very meta moment from like original 1960s Scooby-Doo. And one of the comments, like one of the responses, summed it up perfectly, where they were just like, I didn't realize shows back then could be meta. And
They didn't know what meta was yet. They didn't have a word for it.
right, and what it comes down to is, so you don't have to play the clip on the show, but I did post the link in the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, there is a link down below. Feel
It's a
free to
reason
click
to
that.
join it.
Join it, please. But in it, basically, they enter this. They exit an elevator. It's Scooby and Shaggy, and there's a sign that says "Rerd Revel Rots of Ruck," and then so Scooby and Shaggy walk past it, and then Scooby looks at it and goes, "Third level, lots of luck." And then Shaggy like stops and looks at the sign and goes, "What did you say?" It was just like a very like funny meta moment that I didn't realize that the word meta or meta humor existed in the fucking 60s. I love that Power Rangers is also able to
At this point in time, do something like that.
yeah, it's great. Aye aye aye.
It's so I'm like trying to utilize different tools, and I have no idea why I decided to give them 5 normal hands instead of just like cartoon.
Oh, you give him the full fingers?
Full 4 in the thumb, like.
Well, I mean,
Sometimes just
it bothers me actually when shows do that, when they do the 4 fingers. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where I don't draw enough cartoony characters
have a stance.
to have a move like a standard 3 finger or even 2 finger hit, 3 finger total hand.
I was watching an episode of Family Guy recently because I'm almost done with the show. I'm almost through all the seasons, but I'm still watching it. I don't know why. It gets pretty solid actually around season 17 and the finale of season 16 I actually really enjoyed, which is weird. But in the one cutaway gag they do, it's Dr. Spock and he does his like Klingon live long and prosper hand signal, but all the characters only have 4 fingers, so he's doing it with like it just doesn't look right. Like that's a fucking, you'd have to draw 5 fingers in order to pull that off, and like it just looks weird. But also, I remember this joke on The Simpsons, because The Simpsons is also a show where they do the 4 fingers
I
instead
might
of
know
5.
the joke you're gonna say.
Yeah, you do. And in the episode, they like have I think Time magazine, and they're just like, look at this. They say in the future humans will evolve to have 5 fingers, and then they show like a photo of just a hand with 5 fingers on it, and then I think Marge goes, "Ew, creepy." All right, I drew my quick and dirty.
I'm almost
it's
done.
not gonna win. I drew my quick and dirty.
I'm keeping mine simple too. I'm almost done. Yeah, I watched a lot of Simpsons growing up, so I would say I think actually you were probably a big reason why I got away from the 4 fingers thing. So I was doing a lot of it, and then you were just like, I don't know, you're like, well, that's what Simpsons does. Why are you doing it too? And I'm like, good point.
I hope I wasn't being like.
No, I never took it that way.
I just sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's just one of those things where, like, I guess if you don't, if it's standard in cartoons, like it's such a thing
Yeah.
that like
It's cheaper to animate.
that and like the flatter hands for certain cartoons.
Yeah. Oh, like
That Butch Hartman flat hand style.
yeah, like just like the geometric shape with some lines cut
Yeah.
down. Or like you could always go the Powerpuff Girls route.
Just the nubs.
Yeah, which they also made fun of in the one episode when they body swap with like the mayor and like the human, like the adult characters, because
Yeah.
Blossom tries to pick up the red phone, and she just she like keeps trying to judo chop it. She's like, I can't fucking pick it up. What's going on? Which just raises a lot of questions. Like it's broken my brain ever since. It's like, do they have sticky ball hands? Like,
Well, they're mutants, you know. They're not human.
Yeah.
They were made in a lab.
Ooh, I just got a notification saying Aaron posted coldwar.jpg in my Discord. I can't see it, so I haven't looked at it yet to ruin the surprise, but he is done. I would consider myself done because I don't want to go too overboard.
I'm gonna say I'm done too then. It's just my quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty.
Alright, so I'm gonna reveal yours again.
Alright, I'm going to post Aaron's. Well, I'm going to reveal your... Well, I'm gonna close my eyes, squint really hard, and post Aaron's.
Me and you kind of went the same route. Some degree.
Oh yeah, we did. Okay, I saw it.
See if Aaron went the same way.
Aaron did actually go a different route. It's pretty
Okay.
clever.
That's awesome.
I love it. It's cute.
It's
Hey,
warm.
Asian Ash
It's got a
Gabe.
little- It's got a little toothpicky spear.
He
Yeah.
does.
It's a little ice
An ice pick.
Nice.
Ah, there you go.
Perfect.
Alright, so
That's the stuff.
I,
We did it.
Like a
I love
snow.
how he's just mowing them down. Like,
Yeah, he's like blown apart.
It's like
Yeah.
some shit you'd read on like Calvin and Hobbes with all his like.
Basically, yeah, that's, I took just some straight up plagiarism in some ways.
I also love that it's just a mushroom cloud, so you're like, what kind? Is that an explosion? Like, it's just gonna melt. Like, it's
Right.
pointless.
Yeah, we all lose. That's exactly it. As is true with real atom bombs.
Movie, not play.
All right, well, that's a good episode. Thanks for coming on, Aaron. Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
so much,
you.
man.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, for sure. You can come back in the future if you'd like. We always love having people on.
Folks, I want to say thank you in the chat to Dr. Soundcheck for following us. Thank you, Zach, for this lovely idea. Captain Sheepy,
He hosted
Captain, my
us.
captain. I'm going to check out Dungeon World. I'm actually pretty interested in that. Oh, Jams actually commented. They said, never got a notification.
Yeah, I mentioned, or I talked to him earlier. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Twitch's fault. I blame Twitch.
I blame Twitch. But
It's
thanks
easier
everyone
that
for
way.
joining. Aaron, do you have anything you'd like to plug before we officially sign off?
I don't really stream that much anymore, but if I could, I could plug 2 friends of mine. who stream.
Definitely.
Yeah, we
Dr.
could.
Soundcheck streams music every now and again on both Twitch and D Live,
Ooh.
and a friend of mine, Anna Yume, streams music on Twitch and D Live. Dr. Soundcheck, DrSoundCheck, and Anna Yume is ANAYUME. If you want to hear some like chill tunes, hang out with some cool people, both of them stream. She streams a lot more often. I do not have a schedule. I couldn't pull it off the top of my head, but they're 2 cool people if you want to check them out. I don't do much online, but if you want to play D&D, you can always hit me up.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, it's quite-
We've discussed a little bit of the D&D stuff, before the show today and stuff like that. But yeah, he has DM'd, he has played. Folks, if you need a DM or you need a player, he's your man. He cares a lot. He's a really cool, good guy. Aaron, you've been a good friend for quite a while now, and I'm glad we could have you on the show.
Glad I could be here.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Brandon, do you got anything you wanna pump before we officially sign
I
off?
don't think so. Not today. Just the usual stuff.
I'd like to pump this. I'd like to promote this. This little show we do every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called DrawBomb.
Oh yeah. How could I forget?
Let's check it out.
That's great. It's a real quality program. Yeah, all the characters there starts with little painter guy, and then it's just delightful.
He's just a lovely little painter man.
All right, I'm gonna play us out.
Alrighty.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Blah 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 blah. I did the song, guys. I can make fun of it.
You're the little song guy. Yeah, you made it, so you're allowed to
I like
talk
that
over it.
I like the idea that there is no outro. It's just you just.
Yeah. It's weird.
Like
the
an
outro
outro
sounds
version.
slightly
Yeah,
different
just
every
like
time.
Every time you're just like you're just like out of breath. Just
I like do a lap around a track before I actually.